coming up is possibly my favorite piece of music in the game. Is the Promise theme. I like to think of it as James's theme, or James and Mary's theme, and it comes up again and again in the game.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Could Mary really be here? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
And that is our opening. And speaking of... Oh, hold on. We're good. I gotta stop doing that. Speaking of waiting for me. What is that? Am I wearing my Hadestown Wait For Me t-shirt? Everything is intentional. And I am intentionally a huge dork. Anyway. So many things I could say about that piece of music. Like I said before, Promise is one of the main themes in the game, and it comes up again later in a scene with a character named Angela that I'm going to talk about more during that scene, why it's used there, because that was a revelation for me that came from actually playing the remake, that I then went back to the original and was like, wait, it's here too. No, this was intentional. But just to talk about Promise as a piece of music, let's switch over to the little piano demos thing. So set that up like that. Promise in the entire Silent Hill series, not just Silent Hill 2, is to me the only piece of music that really feels like... I kept trying to figure out the best word to explain that, but it feels bittersweet. So many of the pieces of music in this game are dark and melancholy and sad and disturbing in some ways, and there's a lot to be said about how Akira Yamaoka constructs that stuff. But talking about specifically about Promise, it feels heartfelt. It feels romantic in certain ways, and I think that is incredibly intentional. The chord progression that we have playing there on the acoustic guitar, that boom doo doo, that little kind of twangy instrument, is I'm gonna drop that down. A minor, F, C, and G. The way that's articulated on the guitar, it doesn't use all the notes that I was playing, but that's the relationship between those chords. Please tell me if I'm saying anything in terms of music terminology that you want explained further. I'm going to try and figure out the simplest, most concise ways to say things, but I don't know what people don't know, so let me know if you're a complete layperson to music, or if you are someone who's deep in that music theory and you're like, Ian, I think you may actually have that slightly incorrect. It's actually A minor and then F with /A chord and F with the A in the bass. I know, my brain is already thinking about it. But as I was just playing the block chords of it, that is a very common chord progression that you hear in so much music. If you've ever watched like the Axis of Awesome video or like Pachelbel's rant or whatever, it's there's a thing that I'll talk about with music where it's chord relationships. Like there are a bunch of different keys you can play things in, and there are a bunch of different chords that you can play in those keys. But at the end of the day, the thing to remember is it's all mathematical. So we're in the key of A minor with this piece. And if we're starting on A, we're going up, and we assign a number to each note of the 8-note scale. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're back to 1. We can assign numbers to the chords that are built on those numbers of the scale, those scale degrees, as they're called in music theory. So if A is 1, A minor, F would be 6, and then C is 3, and then G is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Does that all make sense? One of the things that can help you out with paying attention to that is keeping an eye on the lowest note. That is usually where our names for chords come from. So we've got 1, 6, 3, 7. And again, that's a very common chord progression. I'm trying to, of course, my mind's going to blank on every single thing. Actually, you want to know what the first thing that popped into my head was? Cleo, you'll get a kick out of this. The Gandalf death music. Same chord progression. It's probably in a different key, but if it was in D minor, say, we could still play it in that key and it would have the same mathematical relationship. Yeah. So yeah, just to talk a little bit more about the math stuff. If we're in D minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, we can do that same thing. 1, 6, 3, 7. It's the same 4 numbers. Going through a lot of stuff right now. Is all of that making sense to everyone? It's how a composer can use the same theme over and over and over again in a score, and it doesn't get old because they can play it in a different key, or they can speed it up or slow it down, or they can tweak a single note so that it sounds a little different, or they can have a melody with a different chord progression underneath it. That is going to come into play when we hear this theme again later on in the scene with Angela, because the potentially more famous version of Promise, because it was used as like a main theme in the movie, is Promise Reprise, and that one isn't in A minor but G minor, but we can still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. But that was just going over the first chord progression. There's a second chord progression in there that it does have in common with the Reprise, which is if we were to play that in A minor, it would be get more into that later. But to go back to the original chord progression, I think the reason that Akira Yamaoka uses this chord progression, this very familiar chord progression, for this main romantic, emotional theme for the main character is because it's so familiar. It's a tool that he can use to make the audience on a subliminal level feel like, oh, this is something that is supposed to feel familiar and warm. It's supposed to feel like home. Going back to Lord of the Rings examples, Howard Shore does something similar with the Hobbiton theme. The whole those chords. Again, Pachelbel chords, Access was awesome, all that stuff. And also, if we were to start on this chord of that progression, we get again the Gandalf death chords, the main theme from Promise. Yeah, hold on. It's all connected. But yeah, I think in a lot of cases, composers use very familiar chord progressions, very familiar melodic styles to convey that sense of like, hey, here's a place of home, a place that feels natural to us, a place that will make people feel like we're back in an emotional center. Particularly in a game like this, where we're going to go far away from that emotional center in terms of story and music, and it's a horror game, so they're trying to find ways to unsettle you.